My name is John Matthews. This is my 1969 C10 diesel. I got the truck about 4 years ago. It came with a Chevy 350 small block, 4-speed, 4-wheel drive. As I was driving it, I broke the leaf spring on it, and I decided to put a 12-inch lift on it with 1 tons. I got tired of this big lift, and I decided I just didn't want it no more, and I started tearing it apart. I kept everything as the cab, the doors, and the hood, and sold the rest of the whole truck, and then later decided I wanted to put it on a 2001 Dodge Cummins frame. This is a 5.9 liter Cummins 24 valve with a 6-speed manual, 4-wheel drive 2500. This was my dad's truck. He rolled the truck, and I decided to tear it apart and put my C10 on it. Then later on, senior projects were coming up, and I decided I wanted to make this my project. Then later on bought some new inner fenders, some outer fenders, and a radiator support grill. And this is me spray painting them. And then as in the process of that, after we got done with that, my whole family, we decided we wanted to move. We moved farther up the hill. I had to take this project with me. As I took it with me, I got a hoist, and I lifted the cab up. I started cutting the cab mounts off, putting them in new positions. I had to shorten them, cut them, and grind the area where I wanted to weld them. This is me tacking it, making sure they're in the right spot. And this is my dad helping me finish welding them, making sure everything was perfect, making sure things were level. This is the hoist we used to lower and raise the cab up so we can make sure that everything was fitted right. We needed enough room in the engine bay for radiator, intercoolers. We needed to make sure the cab was sitting at the right height. We had the transmission underneath that we needed to make sure was in a perfect area for when I needed to shift. We then later got everything finished with the cab mounts, and we pulled the truck out of the little area, put it in this new area, and decided I wanted to mechanically P-pump this truck. I didn't like the wiring. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with the whole truck being computerized, and it was just a big mess. And every time I looked at it, I just didn't like it. I decided to tear apart all the wiring off of it and buy a P-pump off of Craigslist with a new gear housing. I have to put a new gear housing on for the P-pump because of the way the mounts sit, and the pump has to sit in there. It wouldn't go on to the original OEM gear housing. So in order to change this out, you have to pull this camshaft out of the motor. So we took off the rocker arms off top and replaced them in order from 1 to 6. And then we later had to pull the camshaft followers up and zip tie them to make sure they don't fall through as when we pull this camshaft out. This is me getting it started, my dad helping me pull this camshaft out. It was a struggle as there's very little room inside of there to pull this correctly out, so you have to make sure everything is perfectly centered through the hole. As you see, there is little slots and little positions it has to go through. You have to twist it. As we got it out, we took the old OEM original gear housing off. I had to clean this engine bay up and get all the old gasket off, make sure everything was clean, and I put on the new gear housing for the P-pump. As in later, I was putting the new put the camshaft back into the motor. As we were putting it in, we ran into a little slight problem. I'm guessing when the camshaft hit one of the cam followers and just hit it perfectly, the zip tie came off and the camshaft fell through down into the oil pan, which was a big struggle and a pain, and it held us up for a while. We had to take the oil pan off and drop it to get it out, but we couldn't get the whole oil pan out because there's a cross member right here, and you have to have that there for the motor so it doesn't twist the frame, as these motors have a lot of torque in them. So in order to get that out, I'd have to lift the motor out, which I would have to disconnect it from the transmission. As I did not want to do that, I decided I will just get it out as best as possible. So we took the starter off, moved the oil pan to the side, reached down in there, pulled the camshaft follower out, and put the camshaft follower through the crankshaft, up through the camshaft, into the position. It was a really big struggle. I then later test fitted the P pump on there, and as I was looking at the P pump, I decided that I should possibly rebuild this P pump and get it checked out, make sure everything was mechanically proper with it. And I'm glad I did, because they said there were some slight issues with it. They had it turned up and they made sure everything was good with it. That ran me about $600. As I was waiting for the P pump, I put on the new brake system. This is a booster brake system, which runs off the steering pump, and I had to cut new holes and fitted this on there and run a hard line to the brake pedal so this can work. This was a big struggle also, as I had to make sure this was leveled for the hood to fall on there and sit perfectly and not hit this in the way and run into later future struggles. I had to mock up a system for the brake pedal, and the reason I couldn't use the old brake system was because it ran off of a vacuum system, and these Dodge Cummins don't have a vacuum system. It doesn't come with them. They more like push out air than take in air. This is receipt for the P pump after I got it back, and certifications and making sure everything sat right and it idled good and it had enough pressure. I then later ran into another struggle. My dad had to have, my mentor had to have heart surgery, and he was out about 3 months, and money was coming to be an issue as I couldn't order parts to finish this project. I had to order new parts. So I put my truck up for sale and I got it sold. By that time, I ordered all the parts I needed, and some got onto back order. As parts were coming in, I started putting them together. I got my P pump in and I started putting it together. A big struggle was right here. You can see an oil feeder line for this. I had to mock up a oil feed line into the oil pump, into the oil pan. That was a big struggle. I got a new fuel line system to run back. This is a double feeder to make sure it's getting plenty of fuel. I bought a billet air intake. I had to get a new one just because of these fuel lines that run off of the P pump into the motor were gonna hit the original one. I then later bought a billet advanced timing gear system for the P pump. This was a big money. I then later put the doors on, finished putting the front clip on, and got the truck ready. I can't run the truck, as in this P pump wouldn't be able to handle the stock fuel pressure, and I needed a fast fuel pump, and this is a fast fuel pump. I haven't got it yet, as it's in back order with COVID, and it's been a big struggle. I've been dealing with this company getting it in, and once it's in, the P pump will have enough fuel pressure, the motor will get the right amount of fuel it's supposed to get, and I can start driving it on daily. I'm also waiting on an intercooler for the turbo, so the turbo can push air into the motor. If I don't have that, it's not running right, it's gonna have too much fuel and not enough air. But practically this truck is, I would say, 95% complete. It is almost there. I have a little bit left to do. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you.